Is there opportunity? The National Football League is the land of opportunity. For the Chiefs, they go into Week 3 to try to do something that's never been done in the history of the franchise, and that spans 66 seasons. This Defending the Kingdom is entitled What Opportunity? And it's brought to you, as always, by Ticketmaster, your friend throughout the season.
Mahomes looking left all the way, now moves to the right. 10, 5, Mahomes diving for the near front pylon. Touchdown, Kansas City.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, along with senior team reporter Matt McMullen. And you're thinking, what opportunity? It's the Chiefs against the Giants, Week 3, Sunday Night Football. And I had to look at this and look at this and look at this. But I mentioned it early in the week on the Chiefs Kingdom show with Patrick Mahomes. The Kansas City Chiefs have never beaten the Giants on the road. The only team the Chiefs have never beaten on the road in the history of this franchise. That's an opportunity.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
How many times have we played them there?
7 times.
Lost every time.
0 for 7. And it hasn't been really kind of pretty. So when I mentioned it to Pat, who's on the show, he goes, And he starts to think, and he goes, I trust you, man. I'll trust you doing it. I go, well, I looked at it like 10 times. But he goes, I remember in 17, that was his redshirt year.
Yeah.
And honestly, the Giants were down 4 receivers. They were down 4 receivers. Their top 4 guys were inactive. And they still won the game in overtime, like 16-9. It was crazy.
Yeah, because that was the game that Kels got picked off, threw the deep pass. That was a weird game. That was a weird stretch for us, which actually is kind of applicable to what we're going through right now in a few ways.
Well, and it's a great point because you and I have talked about this, and I mentioned it publicly on different shows I was on, but the fact that every year there has been a flashpoint. Now, sometimes they come at the beginning of the year. 2014, 0-2. 2 guys go injured. DJ and Mike DeVito go down within like 40 seconds. Sometimes it happens in the middle of the year. How about 2019? You can go back to 2017. What about 2023 being 9-6 going into the last couple of weeks, and you end up winning the Super Bowl? Every year there are flashpoints. Usually a big one. And now, this year, it's at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and reminds me so much of 2021. It seems like nationally, when people are talking about the Chiefs, they've completely forgotten the 2021 season happened.
We were 3-4.
3-4. We started 1-2, ended up being 3-4. We didn't get over 500 until week 9 in 2021. Well, no one talks about it because how did that season end? We won 12 games and hosted the AFC Championship game, and it went to overtime. We were 2 quarters away from the Super Bowl. So the Chiefs have dealt with this kind of thing before. It's not fun. I mean, I much prefer to get off to a roaring start and start 9-0, and don't have to worry about this kind of situation. But the reality is we've had some injuries, we have some circumstances, and we played 2 really good teams to open the season, and we lost by, a combined 9 points? So it's tough. This just happens sometimes. So how do you respond to it? And that's one thing that Patrick Mahomes has kept saying, you're not defined by moments like this. You're defined by how you respond to them. Well, moving forward, you got to get back on track. And the good news is here that we've seen in recent memory, beyond even our own experience, teams go through this kind of thing and rebound quite well. I mean, look at last year. The Broncos start 0-2. They make the playoffs. The Rams started 0-2. They made the playoffs. The Ravens lost to the Raiders at home in Week 2 last year, and they end up being right there with the Bills at the very end of that incredible divisional playoff game. So it's not about how you start sometimes. Of course, you want to start 2-0. You don't want to start 0-2, but there are plenty of examples around the NFL and in our own history that show it's not about how you start, it's how do you respond to it, and that begins this week against the Giants.
And that's why there are opportunities all over the place, not only in this episode, but on Sunday Night Football against the Giants. Now, ironically, the Giants have started 0-2. They're 0-2 27 times in their history. That dates all the way back to the beginning of the NFL. They've only made the playoffs 1 time. They won the Super Bowl.
07, right?
07.
Yeah.
And they beat the undefeated New England Patriots that year with Steve Spagnuolo diagramming a great defense. But it just shows you 0-2 doesn't mean the end of the earth.
And also the 93 Cowboys were 0-2, won the Super Bowl. And the 0-1 Patriots were 0-2 to begin the year, won the Super Bowl. And also, all the 0-2 stats are a little bit convoluted about you only have this percentage chance to make the playoffs, because with the addition of the 17th game and the 3 wildcard spots, it just kind of changes everything. Mm-hmm. That's why last year you had the Broncos, the Ravens, and the Rams all begin 0-2 and make the playoffs pretty comfortably, right? So, for the Chiefs, It's frustrating in a lot of ways. We're not used to this kind of thing. We're used to getting off to good starts. We always talk about how good we are normally in September. It's a bummer. We all know it. We want to win. Well, let's get back on track beginning this Sunday. And, hey, hopefully in like 8-9 weeks, we're looking back on this and saying, can you believe we started 0-2? That seems like a long time ago.
Just lock in on the opportunity that is Sunday Night Football against the Giants. And, again, crazy. The only team the Chiefs have never beaten on the road. It's also an opportunity to go around the world. What do we have?
Yeah, I got 6 for you today.
6 for Brian Cook, who had a really good game against the Eagles.
Yeah, he did.
One of his better games in recent memory.
So we have a listener in Wichita.
Yeah.
We have yet another listener in Brisbane, Australia. They're just coming out of the woodwork. Just dozens of them.
There's got to be a Chiefs bar in Brisbane, Australia. There's got to be.
I think
if there's not, get one.
And you and I should go investigate just to make sure. I think we should go. So we'll be there soon.
We won't be on the tarmac though for 2.5 hours before our flight, will we?
No, hopefully not.
Good.
Let's get right out of here. Judith is from El Paso, Texas. She is a UTEP and Park University alum.
Wow. UTEP and Park University.
How about that? Yeah.
Which one was before the other? I don't know.
Yeah,
go Miners.
Question. Yeah, go Miners.
Sun Bowl.
Salvador is listening from Los Angeles. Been a fan since the 90s when Marcus Allen joined the Chiefs. He's a big USC fan, so he enjoyed the Juju segment last week. We've got a listener in Alaska.
Fight on.
And then Nick is in Gulfport, Mississippi, home of the...
I don't know. I got no idea.
You don't know Gulfport, Mississippi?
No, I don't have Gulfport, Mississippi's nickname. I don't know the Sea Wolves or the Offshore Otters or something.
That's a great guess. It's the Admirals.
I love that.
Yeah, the Gulf Shore.
The Gulf Shore Admirals.
Admirals. Anyway, that's all I got today.
Or Gulfport, right? Gulfport Admirals.
Gulfport, yes.
Yeah.
Gulf Shore would be Alabama.
Well,
right?
those people down there, what they went through with Hurricane Katrina was rough.
Yeah.
Okay. Opportunities. What opportunity? Chance to do something that's never been done in franchise history. The other opportunity, I would say, in looking at this game, and let's just start on the offensive side, is the opportunity to get on track. And let's start with third downs, because the Chiefs right now, we haven't lived in this area very much, but 26th in the league after 2 weeks in third down offense, just 9 of 26. This is a Giant defense, which is really good up front, and third down is actually one of their better things statistically. They're in the middle of the pack, but the Chiefs have an opportunity to just feel so close. Pat was talking on the Kingdom Show, so close, but an opportunity to improve in every area, but especially third down offense.
Yeah, and like you were saying, we're used to the Chiefs being incredibly efficient on third down. Hasn't happened so far. And, yeah, this is a really good Giants defensive front. Think about some of the players on this defensive line. They have Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, first-round pick this year. Darius Alexander is a player I liked a lot during the draft process. He's on this team as well. It's kind of like a who's who on their defensive front. But overall, they have struggled as a defense, right? I mean, they're allowing over 6 yards per play. And they're dead last in the NFL in yards allowed per game at 455. And you might have watched last week's game, and you're going to say, okay, well, last week was the reason behind that. Surely they didn't give up a lot of yards in week 1. Well, they did. They gave up 478 in week 2 against the Cowboys in that crazy game, but allowed 432 to Washington in week 1. Yep. The Commanders just didn't score a lot of points. So these guys have to struggle defensively, and a lot of it is because they've struggled against the run. So teams have run all over these guys. They're allowing a league worst 178 rushing yards per game. How do you make sure you convert your third downs? Well, you make sure those third downs are short. Mm-hmm. And the Chiefs have struggled to run the ball this year. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the Chiefs' leading rusher at this point. So if we can run the ball effectively against these guys, maybe you're facing 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 instead of 3rd and 8.
And they've allowed 39 10-plus plays. We always talk about 30-plus or 20-plus, but 10-plus plays are those that will completely put acid on a defense and just eat it out from the inside out. And so those 39 10-plus plays, which include a gob of runs, you mentioned at the bottom of the league, gives the Chiefs an opportunity to run the football. The other one that I'm going to bring up here is the fact that it gives the Chiefs a chance to get takeaways. The Chiefs have no takeaways in the first 2 games. Only 6 teams in the league have no takeaways in the first 2 weeks of the season. The collective record of those 6 teams is 2-10. And so a lot of the 0-2s here have no takeaways. And that's where our guest comes into play with Ashton Gillotte. Now, There's only one giveaway by the Giants. Russ Wilson looked like the Russ Wilson of 2013 and 14 and 15.
It's incredible.
Really crazy. And just chucking the ball to the cheap seats, as they would say in the movie Hoosiers. But no takeaways is problematic. But you get an opportunity to try to get takeaways in this game and to be aggressive in both run defense and pass defense against a Giant team that has really good players. We'll get to this in a minute. But at some point, you've got to start taking the ball away. It's just too hard to win in a razor-thin National Football League if you set it 0 takeaways.
And that was probably one of the differences last week, right? It's pretty incredible if you look at the box score between the Chiefs and Eagles last week, how almost everything was exactly the same. Like, same number of rushing yards, same number of pass yards, same number of this and that. Like, almost everything was the same. The difference, of course, was the missed field goal by the Chiefs, albeit a long one at 58 yards. The interception in the red zone, and the short fourth down attempt we went for that didn't get and turned into a short field and a field goal for Philadelphia. Like, you take one of those three things out, the Chiefs probably win. Or if you give the Chiefs maybe one of those mistakes on the Eagles side. I think about some of the balls that were batted in the air that our guys were diving for. If you get that interception, maybe you win the game. It didn't work out that way. But, yeah, you got to get more turnovers defensively because teams are too good in this league, particularly when you're facing a team like Philadelphia. Looking at New York, though, we need to figure out like who they are offensively because, I mean, the first two games, it couldn't be more different. Week 1, they don't score a touchdown. They lose 21-6, but last week they rack up over 500 yards of offense, and Wilson throws for over 450 yards. I mean, it was incredible. So can't let that happen. Russell Wilson, when he starts feeling it, is going to air it out. And, yeah, I mean, look at what he did last week. He had 7 throws of 25 or more yards. That's the most he's ever had in a game. And I'm not talking about his Seahawks career, even his Broncos career on the New York Giants. So can't allow that for sure.
We get excited on draft day. I know fans would want to have a GoPro in our draft room.
Yeah.
I'm glad they don't because it gets kind of grungy in there. But anyway, one guy that we got excited about when the Chiefs drafted him was Ashton Gillotte of the University of Louisville. We got even more excited when we saw him on the field. He is key this week in 2 big areas, not just defense, but special teams. This guy is a beast, and he joins us on Defending the Kingdom.
All right, we're joined now by Chiefs defensive end Ashton Gillotte. And Ashton, I feel like you've been here forever now, but you got drafted 5 months ago, but you've been such a part of this so far. What have you enjoyed most about being part of the Chiefs so far?
I've just enjoyed, obviously, again, my teammates. I think being around the coaches, they've put a lot of trust in me. And obviously, we just have a good culture here. So, just being around the guys and getting more familiar, that's just been the best part, probably.
Where do you think you've grown the most since maybe training camp began now here going into week 3?
I would say it's just, actually, let me think. I mean, there's many ways to look at it, but at the end of the day, like, it's just more like your maturity, just how you approach it. Obviously, like, I was trying to operate like that in college, but there's really a professionalism that you had to carry yourself with, and that means like moving through the building, what you got to do outside of the building, like if you're getting a massage therapist or you're getting whatever you need to get your body right, just doing that on your own rather than just being dependent on your training staff to do that. That's probably the biggest thing I've learned on top of playbook. Everyone
Sure.
says playbook.
What's it like playing for Spags, speaking of the playbook?
It's been really good. I enjoy the system. There's a lot of diversity in it and a lot of different looks that we're trying to get. And sometimes he'll pull a call out that we haven't talked about in a couple months. So it's definitely fun to be in, and I'm enjoying it.
So you played a little bit in week 1. I think you got a little banged up in that game, though. But then 28 snaps last week against Philly. You had a TFL on Saquon on the first series of the game. Just how'd it feel to get in there and to really get into a flow where you weren't just rotating in? You were really part of the defensive game plan last week.
No, it felt good. Obviously, things happen, bumps and bruises, and you just got to roll with it. It's football at the end of the day. But, it felt good to just be able to work in, feel a flow of a game, feel like you're a part of it more, and just get hands-on, and especially to test yourself against, obviously good O-line and good athletes. So just be able to feel that out and, keep going.
The defense in week one, there were some areas that obviously had to clean up. But, I mean, looking at last week, even though it came in a loss, the defense played really, really well. What are some things that you were proud of from last week against Philly that you can carry now into the rest of the season?
I think we did a good job flying around, making sure we had multiple hats on the ball, make sure that we don't give them good looks. Our coverage guys were doing a tremendous job in coverage, doing what they do best. And obviously we were able to cut free a little bit more, rush a little bit, get Hurts uncomfortable, get him off the spot, make him throw some balls early. And, I mean, that's how you have to play defense. You have to be aggressive and relentless.
Guessing you and Omar are pretty close, being in the same class.
Yeah.
Were you fired up for him after that sack?
No, that was hype. And a little dance he did.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's Omar, though. Like, he's a big personality. And obviously it was like you can't draw up really a better first sack. Like a clothesline, big game against a big team, against a good quarterback. And you get to deplete them. You can't not get hyped for that.
Well, let's get you one of those against Russell Wilson this week,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's a goal every week. Basically, every day we trying to get a sack, but can't chase sacks because then they'll never come.
Well,
allegedly,
hopefully a few this week. Whenever we ask the coaches or the front office, really anyone about you, the first thing they always say is he plays 100 miles an hour. What's that mean to you when you hear that?
It means a lot. Obviously, that's part of the reason why they drafted me and picked me. And I just try to play with high effort, high motor, just to try to be around the ball because good things happen when we're around the ball, and that comes from my coaches across the year. Just ingrain that into me, and then just self will. I'm just trying to get a play. Steal something off someone if I can. So it means a lot, obviously.
And last question, just looking at the Giants this week, trying to get in the win column. What are you thinking about the Giants and trying to slow these guys down?
Obviously, they got a lot of threats. They got a big back, very experienced quarterback, and they got a lot of vertical threats. So obviously we were just trying to get on them. Basically, it's the same approach as every week. Really, at the end of the day, you got to show up, play football. We had close games. You just got to bring it all together now and come together as a team. That's all it is.
Ashton Gillotte, first sack coming this weekend.
Yes, sir.
Ashton Gillotte, so excited about his upside, but I'm going to tell you where I get super excited too is his special teams ability. You got a 270-pound human who can run like a deer, and Dave Tobe in the return game, coverage game, can use him. We talk and how we do things, of where the kind of the fulcrum is to make things happen, and Ashton Gillotte becomes a really key person in all four phases of special teams as well as defense.
Love his attitude, love his energy, both on special teams and on defense. And we're shooting this on a Tuesday. I'm not sure what Mike Dana's status is right now on defense. We'll see if he's able to play in this game. Could be a moot point by the time this comes out. But regardless, Ashton could get an opportunity to play some more here in this game, and we'll see what he can deliver. But we have to get some pass rush going against the Giants. You can't allow Russ to sit back there and unleash it 50 yards because that, at this point in his career, that's what he wants to do. That's his game. And the defense, I think, performed well enough to win on Sunday against the Eagles. A lot of good energy from our defense in that game. Wasn't enough in the end, but still got to keep that going here, going into this matchup.
Yeah, before we went to the Gillotte interview, you were talking about the deep ball by Russ Wilson and his game last week against the Cowboys. Russ Wilson in that game had 264 passing yards on 7 pass plays of 20 yards or more. That is the most in 9 seasons in the NFL by any human.
What?
All right, yeah. And actually, in the fact that he had multiple passing touchdowns of 30 yards or more, no other player has had 2 since 2012. And Wilson was launching it down there 3 times to touchdowns. So there's not only Russ Wilson throwing, there is also Malik Neighbors catching. Now, how many great receivers can come out of LSU? Malik Neighbors is another one. This dude, Neighbors, has 123 receptions in his first 17 games as a pro in the NFL. That is 3rd in the Super Bowl era, I should say. Then you throw in Wan'Dale Robinson, you have got a second deep ball threat. So your point of Wilson chucking it to the cheap seats and somehow getting pressure on him with 4, preferably, without blitzing, can help limit the opportunity of Russell Wilson, who can hit the ball into the, like Dela Cruz of the Cincinnati Reds. You got to keep the deep ball out of the Giants game.
So we didn't have a chance to watch their game live because our game was about to start. But I went back and watched it, and I was looking back through every single play, and just what a roller coaster and an adventure that game was. I mean, look at the first drive for the Giants. Okay.
Well, Matt, okay, you do the first drive.
Yeah.
There were 8 scores after the fourth quarter started.
Well, here's how it started, though, the whole game.
Okay.
5 penalties, 1 sack, a 50-yard bomb, all ends in a field goal. And that's kind of like that's how the whole game was. I think both teams had double-digit penalties. The Giants were penalized 14 times. But what I'm trying to say is you can mitigate that if you're throwing the ball so well downfield. And, yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, 7 throws of at least 25 yards. Wilson had 316 yards at the catch point last week. So it's not like he was throwing it 5 yards and Neighbors broke free for a 50-yard touchdown. He threw it 50 yards to Neighbors. Neighbors caught it. So you can't let that happen in this game. I mean, Neighbors last week had 9 receptions for 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. Robinson had 8 catches for 142 yards and a touchdown. You can't let that happen in this game. Under no circumstances. The good news is, like I said earlier, the Chiefs' defense was much better last week in general. And really, over the last several years, we're not allowing a bunch of big plays like that in Spag's scheme. Can't start here in this game because if you're looking for ways the Giants could win this game, that's how they do it, is they're going to hit you with some big plays down the field. Can't let that happen here in this one, and hopefully we'll get away with our first win of the year.
Whatever you think of Russ Wilson as a Seahawk, a Bronco, a Steeler, or now a New York Giant, he does have this: 66 passes for touchdowns of 20 yards or more since 2018. That covers all 4 of those teams. And that's 10 more than any quarterback in this league. That includes Patrick, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, everybody else you want to find. So that becomes maybe the crux of the matter. One thing we're going to try to do throughout the fall is also keep an eye on the opponent, so to speak, especially in the AFC West. The Chiefs are going for 10 straight AFC West titles. It will not be easy. The West is loaded. We have seen that in the first 2 weeks of the season. But we've got Ari Wolfe. We have our spy behind the scenes. So it's, remember the cartoon Spy versus Spy?
Oh, yeah.
This is Ari Wolfe now. And so our own version of Spy versus Spy. Let's check in with Ari Wolfe. You had a chance to talk to him and his thoughts on what he's seeing around the league and especially in our division.
All right, everybody, we're starting a new segment this week. It has a working title. We're calling it Westward Bound right now, I think. Of course, with Ari Wolfe here, who you know Ari from our preseason broadcasts. The irony of what Mitch and I do is we don't actually get to watch a lot of football other than Chiefs games. And one thing I've always kind of thought about that we don't really talk about on DTK is other games happening around the league, what happened outside of Chiefs Kingdom, because obviously this impacts us. Well, Ari is going to watch all these games for us every single week, and we're going to talk about it here. We'll have Mitch in here every once in a while too, but Mitch is the busiest guy in the world, so he couldn't make this one. But Ari, what is going on?
Good morning to you, Matt. This is really a passion project, I feel like, for both of us. We're not really sure what it's going to turn into, but I think the beginning of this really was our relationship that started back in 2021 when you joined up with me on the preseason games, and I felt like there was like an instant connection. I felt like I kind of felt like a little bit like a big brother to you. You were, kind of making your debut, doing the TV side. And I just feel like from there forward, we've just had this connection talking about the Chiefs and talking about football. So really the idea behind creating this opportunity, I like to think of it as the podcast within the podcast, is really just how much I admire you and your football knowledge, your football acumen. So there are lots of people in my life I've had a great opportunity to talk football with, but the fact that we're going to get to talk about football, that this is a part of the Kansas City Chiefs, it's very humbling and flattering that we found a way to get this project underway. But I got to tell you, you made such a strong impression on me back in that first preseason together, and it's kind of built to this where we're like, how can we create something for the Chiefs fans and for ourselves where we can talk about things in the National Football League? And I'm just so excited to get started today.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ari, first of all. I still can't believe they put me on TV. So the fact that you took me under your wing and everyone as part of the broadcast crew kind of taught me what to do with all of that, meant the world to me. And it's so much fun doing the preseason with you. And we talk about it every single preseason. We got to find a way to get you involved during the regular season because even though you're not here in Kansas City, you're still a part of this like all of us are. And trying to get another Lombardi trophy, right? kind of a weird start this year, as Mitch and I have been talking about. But, one thing I was going to say later is if we talk about like the dynasty of the Chiefs and all the different episodes of this incredible run the Chiefs have been on, I think it's kind of cool that we have the opportunity now to fight back from an 0-2 start and hopefully win this whole thing. But anyway, let's talk about some things happening around the NFL. What do you want to start with? The AFC West, what do you think?
Well, the AFC West, I think, will be one of the things that we'll focus on here, but I just want to give everybody kind of an idea of what this format's going to look like. Is we're hoping to be around 11, 12 minutes, and we're going to do 4 topics for 2.5 minutes, and then we're going to do a parting thought at the end. And the parting thought could range week to week about something different going on, but it'll always have a connection to the Chiefs in some way. So just expect that. So our first topic today was really telling everybody why we're doing this. And then I wanted to get in this week to the AFC West as our first main topic, because I think the AFC West looks a lot different after 2 weeks than I think some of us expected it to. And I think, for Chiefs fans, the number one thing I take away from 2 weeks is that the division is deeper than it's been in a long time. There will be no easy division games.
Yeah, tough to argue with that. I mean, the Chargers look really good. Their defense looks great once again. I mean, this was the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL last year, and it looks like they've kind of carried that over here into this season. The difference for them, though, is Herbert, I think, has taken a real jump. And we saw it in week 1, how good he was. And then last night against the Raiders, particularly in the first half, I mean, I thought he was excellent. So he's always had the talent, always been a great player, I think, in terms of the measurables, and you saw flashes from him, but he wasn't always putting it together, particularly in big moments in games. We've seen it so far. Can he continue it throughout the rest of the season? That's kind of the question with Herbert. But the Chargers look really good. And I think it's going to be a great race with the Chiefs for the AFC West here. The Broncos look good as well, but I mean, that was a brutal loss last week. I mean, you think you win it, and then you don't. It's tough to come back from that. I'm curious how a young team in Denver rebounds from losing a game like that last week.
I think Bo Nix is a more mature second-year quarterback than you would normally have, and I think it speaks to his age, right? I mean, he was in college, it seemed like, my entire adult life, right? So I think that Bo Nix is a unique leader, but it's the Sean Payton factor. I mean, when you look at the AFC West purely from a head coaching perspective, I mean, there are legends, right? I mean, Jim Harbaugh is the only guy who hasn't won a Super Bowl, and he's been a very successful NFL coach. So I think that when I look at the division, the quality of the coaching, the veteran coaching, I think it stands alone in the National Football League as having the best 4 coaches, and the depth at the head coaching position in the AFC West is clearly the best in football. Let's move to our next topic. I think it's an interesting one. Let's start with you. Which 2-0 team are you most surprised by, and why?
It has to be the Colts, right? I mean, The Colts being 2-0, it's just incredible in how they've done it. I mean, they have 17 offensive drives, and they've scored 14 times. They don't have a punt. They don't have a turnover through 2 games. They have 2 turnovers on downs, and they have 1 drive that the clock expired. Other than that, they've scored on every single drive. I mean, I don't think any of us saw that coming, particularly when you go with Daniel Jones over your first-round quarterback and Anthony Richardson. I think a lot of people thought it would be a long year for the Colts. And, I mean, who knows? These things can always change. I look back on the Saints last year when they started 2-0, and they scored like 40 points in both games, and they didn't win a game the rest of the year. Who knows? But, I mean, so far it has to be the Colts. I mean, good for them. Who saw this coming?
I mean, literally, like, if you saw my notes, it's Colts, but then the qualifier, remember the Saints from last year. We're literally on the exact same page. So it's a little bit, it seems like an indictment on what happened in New York, because Daniel Jones with Shane Steichen now as his head coach and his play caller looks like a super competent NFL quarterback. And look, Saquon Barkley leaves the Giants. He already was thought of as a high-level NFL player last year. Without the Giants, he's the offensive player of the year. So it's hard to not sort of connect the dots there and say what was going on with that New York Giants locker room, what was going on with the offensive staff, because you take these 2 guys out of New York and they're flourishing. So I think the Daniel Jones thing, he always had some qualities I liked. He is a dual threat quarterback, right? He can get out of the pocket. He can run. He's pretty athletic for his size. I think he's got good leadership temperament. He's a little Eli Manning-like, but because they just didn't have enough sustained success there, I think everybody kind of wrote him off. All right, I want to move to the next topic. Now, I know that you don't get to watch a lot of games. I fortunately do.
Ironically.
Yes. So the best game of last week by far was the Giants at the Cowboys. I mean, it was good old fashioned shootout. Russell Wilson, to his last throw of the game, was vintage Russell Wilson. The fourth quarter, it was just bang, bang, boom, boom, touchdown, points. But my greatest takeaway is that Brandon Aubrey has sort of changed the sport. You get the ball now to midfield and you think you're in realistic field goal range. I couldn't believe the way they managed the clock, that they were content with him taking one from 64 yards, like it was a 44-yard field goal. So I just think back to, how are they all so much better at kicking than they were 15 years ago? The football's the same. Like, how have we evolved as a society with these kickers now? It's realistic. I mean, the record long field goal was shorter than 64 yards for most of my adult life. And now it just seemed like, ho hum, we're not going to worry about getting the 5 extra yards here. Let's just let Aubrey take it from 64 yards. He drills it to get the game into overtime. And I'm just astonished at what kicking. I mean, the Chiefs are spoiled. Harrison Butker's got the huge leg, but what's happened in the world? Why are these guys able to make 60-plus yard field goals in a way that they couldn't do 15 years ago?
So I think about this in the same context of 40-yard dash times, how they constantly keep getting better. Eventually, there has to be a point where it just can't get any better, right? Like, at what point will it not be humanly possible, despite all the technology and sports medicine and everything, to kick a certain distance? Like, like in 20 years, are we going to be talking about like 75-yard field goals? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. And just the ease with the way they do it and the way they swing the leg, it's just like it's no big deal. And and it really was significant, I think, for the Cowboys. If they would have fallen to 0-2, Dallas is, whether you love them or hate them, is always one of the biggest stories in the league. So for them to beat a division opponent at home, otherwise they fall to 0-2, losing 2 division games. So that was super fun. And then I also want to look forward to, at least on paper, what's the biggest game. And this one seems clear. It's the biggest game. You've got the Detroit Lions playing at the Baltimore Ravens, and that's a pretty sexy Monday night game. What are your thoughts heading into that game?
Yeah, it's interesting. Baltimore got back on track, beating the Browns last week, but I still, looking back at that Bills game in week 1 for them, that they had it, and this to give it away like they did. You fumble the ball away, you give Buffalo a chance to steal that game. That's tough. And now Baltimore, you're facing a good team in Detroit. Like you were saying earlier, though, we've seen 2 sides of Detroit where they were so good last week against the Bears, but just couldn't do anything against the Packers in week 1. And was that more a testament to the Packers defense, or are the Lions going to be this team that's kind of up and down? I don't know. But it's an awesome matchup, and we're going to see both those teams soon. We're going to see the Ravens next week after this Giants game, and Detroit, is that week 6 maybe?
Sounds right.
Yeah, week 6 we'll see Detroit. So what a schedule for the Chiefs.
I mean,
getting all these teams.
Yeah, well, because, you're division champs, that makes your schedule tougher. And then if your division is better, then suddenly the schedule looks pretty tough, right? So, but look, this group has been through so many battles together. I think our trust in Andy Reid and the staff and Patrick Mahomes. And look, I think one guy who probably feels the worst right now is Travis Kelce. You spend far more time around him. Is there a better guy in a locker room in the National Football League? I think you can make a case that Travis is the best teammate you could ever ask for. So I'm sure that this has been really tough for him. But boy, if that's the guy, that I would count on him in any situation, anytime. Those same plays happen in the postseason. He's going to make them. So again, I just say, keep the faith. Like, don't lose confidence in Travis or anything about this team. Because I'm telling you, once this thing gets rolling and everybody gets healthy, all will be right in the kingdom. I am quite confident of that. All right. So at the end of this, every week, I want to do a parting thought. And again, I want it connected to the Chiefs. It's not necessarily has to be about the Chiefs, but I'd like you to give your parting thought, and I'll go last.
Yeah, I just circle back to what I said earlier about how I think in the context of this Chiefs run, we've seen them do it so many different ways. Obviously, we've seen them steamroll to a division title, get the 1 seed, win the Super Bowl. We've seen that. But I think maybe the most fun retroactively I've had in this role was 2023, when everybody was doubting the Chiefs. I mean, you mentioned it. They start 9-6. At times, it kind of felt like we were just hanging on for dear life. And then you have to go through maybe the toughest gauntlet of playoff opponents ever, where you have to play the Dolphins in freezing cold weather. You have to go to Buffalo and beat them, to Baltimore, beat them, and beat the Niners in the Super Bowl. I mean, just an incredible run, right? And I think that adds to the dynasty the Chiefs have established. Well, this year, it's not how we planned it, but it's kind of fun now that they start 0-2. There's doom and gloom outside of Chiefs Kingdom. Well, now they can go on a run and see what they can accomplish. And if they can do what we think they can do and what we know they can do, and hopefully win this whole thing at the end of it, to think where they started, it's pretty cool that the Chiefs truly are this inevitable force. So they got to go out there and do it, but that's the opportunity I'm looking at after this 0-2 start.
Opportunity is a great thing to have. All right. My parting thought, and this is like one that's more sort of like deeply personal. So this month, 30 years ago, playing pickup basketball at USC, I was new on campus. I was a first-year grad student. A guy I had never met comes to play pickup basketball named Robbie Davis. He had transferred to USC, and so he was brand new on campus. So I was trying to get a five together to play. He comes up, and we're like, okay, let's run. Well, this month, we've now been friends for 30 years. He's my neighbor. He lives across the street. We walk our dogs together every day. We work out together every day. He's like the best human being I've ever known. And one of our bucket list things was to go to Lake Tahoe and play the Edgewood Golf Course where Patrick Mahomes plays in that celebrity golf outing that takes place every year in July. So after we get off this call, we're flying to Lake Tahoe, and then tomorrow we're playing 18 holes on this like epic golf course to celebrate 30 years of friendship that's been basically surrounded by our mutual love of sports. And I'm excited next week to hopefully tell you that I don't completely choke and play the worst golf of my life, and that it turns out great. But it's just a really fun, exciting thing. So that's my parting thought for this week, that sports, friendship, and getting a chance to go play a course I've watched Patrick play. I'm really excited for the next couple of days.
That sounds absolutely amazing. Good luck. I know. So I love the idea of golfing. I am a terrible golfer, and I know I would embarrass myself. I have no doubt you'll make us all proud. Good luck.
Well, we'll definitely hopefully have a lot of fun. There's a lot of water on the course. I packed some extra golf balls. I'm prepared for disaster, but more importantly, this is episode 1 of you and I doing this, and this is something we've been thinking, how do we make this happen? I hope everybody likes it as much as I enjoyed doing it. It was super fun, but this is just the first. We're going to be doing this every single week, the podcast within the podcast. We're calling it Westward Bound with Ari Wolfe for now. If you guys have any other ideas, we're open to other ideas, but this is just the beginning, my friend, and I'm just so excited that I get a chance to do it with you.
Yeah, likewise, man. Hopefully we're doing this next time and we're talking about a Chiefs win and not having to talk about the Chiefs being 0-2. All right, you're the best. Thanks for making the time. I'll see you next week.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
All right, great stuff there from Ari. A lot of fun. You know, like I was saying during that segment, Mitch and I, as like into football all the time, like we always are, we're into Chiefs football and constantly like watching Chiefs games and all that and preparing for Chiefs games to the point where we don't always get to watch the other games that are going on, especially while ours are happening. So love including Ari, get his thoughts, and hopefully we're going to talk every week about other stuff that's happening just around the NFL and particularly in our division. But looking at this game with the Giants, what else stands out to you?
Well, let's just say this. We have opened this. This is breaking news. We have opened embassies, actually, near the Chargers training facility,
yes,
near the Broncos training facility, and near the Raiders training facility. Ari Wolfe is actually ambassador at all 3 embassies, so he'll just continue to rotate. And if you're a Kingdom defender, we want to hear from you. If you want to be a willing participant in any of the 3 embassies that we have at our adversaries in the division, but, let there be peace on earth. We're there just, for a cord. We're not doing any kind of espionage.
That's true.
Then let's hear from you. If you're in the Denver area or near the Raiders workout or the Chargers, you can join Ari in this. We're just having some fun.
It's like how, like Jack Ryan is just an analyst. That's all he does.
He's an analyst.
Just an analyst.
That's Ari Wolfe, analyst. Yes, we'll drop him out of helicopters trying to get out of submarines somewhere in the Atlantic. Okay, we'll close this way. Special teams. One really interesting story about this game. The New York Giants kicker is Graham Gano, who I think came out of Genesis with Methuselah, Noah, and the others that lived like hundreds of years, back at the beginning of recorded time. But here is Graham Gano in his 16th year as the Giants kicker. What is fascinating is Graham Gano is a giant part of Chiefs history. And will always be told by you and I, well, what Graham Gano, what's he have to do with the Chiefs? He's never played for the Chiefs. But Graham Gano is right in the wheelhouse of history of the Chiefs.
So that was my first year as a full-time employee.
2017.
2017,
Yep.
yeah. And Cairo Santos was our kicker. Well, Cairo hurt his hamstring. Is that what it was?
It was his hamstring.
Yeah, hurt his
I
hamstring.
remember seeing him hurt it at camp.
Yeah.
He was trying to kick a wet ball in the rain, and, it wasn't good.
And at this point,
That started it. Then he got hurt later.
he got hurt. I think he
in the
maybe
season.
re-aggravated it.
Yeah, he re-aggravated it.
And it was going into week 4, Monday Night Football against the Commanders. Had a different name back then. But anyway, week 4, Monday Night Football, we put Cairo on IR. I was in a meeting just with like our digital crew, and it's like we don't have a kicker for Monday Night Football, and we grabbed this guy named Harrison Butker off the Panthers practice squad because the Panthers had Graham Gano and didn't have room for Harrison, and the rest is history.
You don't have 2 kickers on a team. Sometimes, there have been way back when some. You don't have 2 kickers on a team, and you usually don't have a second kicker on the practice squad.
No.
So what Carolina did was they had a robust kicking competition between Graham Gano and Harrison Butker, and Gano narrowly won. So they didn't want Harrison to just get lost and not find his way back to the Carolina practice facility, so they put him on practice squad. But we know that you can claim a practice squad guy if you put him on your 53. That's exactly what happened prior to that game against the Commanders back the Washington football team.
That's right.
Back in 2017, and Butker became a Chief and immediately kicked the game-winning field goal against Washington that year. And how many great field goals has he made? We've lost track of how many big, great field goals in history that Harrison Butker's had. So another great opportunity this week is for Harrison Butker to, put up about 20 points himself in this game against Graham Gano. They'll stare at each other across the field, and I know their thoughts will go back to 2017.
Hopefully just extra points, though, right? He
Yeah,
can just
all
hit,
extra
like,
points.
9
20 extra points.
Yeah, 20.
Be 140 points. Boy, the Giants they're 31st in red zone defense. They'll be really bad after that.
I think that would calm people down a little bit that are a little bit stressed about the Chiefs' offense. Just, Harrison Butker goes out there with 20 extra points.
We're going to close the way we began. Whether you're complaining, happy, whatever, you just know the Chiefs have never won on the road against the Giants, ever. All these opportunities, that goes to the top of the list. Yes, there are opportunities this week against the Giants.